whereabouts of Osama bin Laden. First, it's the top of the hour. Time for a look at the latest news.
Hello, Genium. Here's what's happening right now. Iraq says it wants proof from President Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair that it's producing weapons of mass destruction. Iraq's foreign minister claims the leaders are creating the pretext for aggression and has challenged them to provide, quote, one piece of evidence. President Bush will make his case against Iraq at the United Nations on Thursday. The State Department tonight has issued a worldwide caution urging Americans to remain especially vigilant around this week's 9/11 anniversary. The department says there's a continuing threat of terrorist actions which may target civilians and U.S. interests. The U.S. Embassy in Jakarta, Indonesia was shut down today because of risks of an attack. And because of concerns surrounding the one-year anniversary, MSNBC has learned that Vice President Cheney has moved to an undisclosed location. White House sources say the vice president expected to stay in a secure location for the next few days as a precautionary measure related to the anniversary. He could make a few unscheduled appearances, but not with the president. And steep terrain and heavy brush fueling a quick-spreading wildfire just north of downtown Los Angeles tonight. The fire in a wilderness park in Glendale already burning 750 acres. 33 homes along the Glendale-Burbank border evacuated as the flames race toward neighborhoods. The cause of the fire is under investigation. We'll have the latest news live every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, plus breaking news when it happens. Stay tuned now for Hardball.
I'm Chris Matthews. Let's play Hardball. I'm here overlooking New York's scarred skyline as the country prepares to mark the one-year anniversary of September 11th. I'll be here for the next 3 days talking tomorrow to Homeland Security Director Tom Ridge, and on Wednesday the 11th, getting reaction to President Bush's speech to the nation. But the big story tonight, America's war on terror around the world. I'll talk to former NATO Supreme Commander General George Jowan. Plus, the latest on the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden and other top al-Qaeda leaders 1 year later. And Howard Fineman and Frank Lentz are here with new poll numbers on whether the public wants a U.S. attack on Iraq. And the first President Bush, the first President George Bush, speaks out on what September 11th means to him. First, in the years since the World Trade Center was brought down behind me, America has launched an aggressive worldwide campaign against the terrorists responsible. Hardball correspondent David Schuster has the report on the first year of America's war on terror.
After al-Qaeda attacked us, President Bush promised to take the fight to them.
Whether we bring our enemies to justice or bring justice to our enemies, justice will be done.
But a year later, U.S. officials say that while Osama bin Laden's terror network is on the run, it still poses a deadly threat. America's most visible victory came in Afghanistan, where relentless airstrikes and ground operations smashed the largest haven for terrorists in the world.
Afghanistan is essentially in a circumstance that it's moved from being a country occupied by the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda to a country that is now governed by a transitional government under Mr. Karzai. It is not a perfectly tidy place, but it is a very stable place for the most part around the country.
And yet, just last week, Karzai was nearly killed in his bloody assassination attempt, averted only by U.S. forces acting as Karzai's bodyguards. Administration officials believe the attack was ordered by one of the more than 20 al-Qaeda leaders who have eluded capture. Officials suspect that some of them, including Osama bin Laden, may have moved across the mountains into Pakistan.
The senior al-Qaeda and the senior Taliban are still people we'd like to find.
And U.S. forces are looking for al-Qaeda not just in Afghanistan and Pakistan, but in Yemen, the Philippines, and even the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, where U.S. Special Forces are on the ground advising local commanders. Officials estimate at least 20,000 people have attended bin Laden training camps and are potential martyrs for his cause. Still, over the last year, more than 2,000 people have been arrested in 95 countries. Dozens of al-Qaeda front groups have seen their finances frozen, and U.S. intelligence intercepts have stopped at least 6 terrorist plots, including plans to bomb embassies in France and Singapore. At the very least, say experts, the U.S. is making al-Qaeda work harder.
They constantly have to reinvent the wheel. Now that means they're always going to be one step ahead of us. On the other hand, before 9/11, we were 10 steps behind, Now we're probably just 1 or 2.
As America works to close the gap before terrorists strike again, the Bush administration seems to have shifted focus to a new front, Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction.
When we do see the capabilities of that regime and the way Saddam Hussein has operated over the years, that we have to give serious consideration to how we're going to address it before he can launch an attack, not wait until after he's launched an attack.
Vice President Cheney and President Bush said from the outset this would be a different kind of war. Now, nearly a year later, that's the one thing that remains certain. America may be fighting the different faces of terror for years, if not decades, to come. I'm David Schuster for Hardball at the White House.
General George John was Supreme Commander of NATO in Europe, and Bill Arkin is an NBC News military analyst. General John, I've got to ask you, look back. It all started back here for most Americans. What the hell that was reaped here on the World Trade Center and down at the Pentagon? Was the operation in Afghanistan, the first big operation of this war against terror, was it a success?
I think the jury's still out, Chris. I think, first of all, the initial phase of it went extremely well. We responded in less than a month with airstrikes. We used the Northern Alliance to get Mazar-e-Sharif. Now we have several thousand American troops in there. The Taliban has been destroyed. There has been a new government and in Afghanistan, but Al-Qaeda, that part of the mission is not yet done.
Did we catch them? We went to the hideout of the bad guys to catch the bad guys. Did we blow up the hideout but not catch the bad guys?
We caught a lot of the bad guys, but not a lot of the big fish. So,
why not? Did we blow it by tactically deciding to use the warlords rather than GIs?
I think initially in Tora Bora we relied on the Afghans. That proved, in my opinion, to be a mistake. We now went in with more troops, and the troops are trying to find Al-Qaeda, but we have, I think, allowed many of them to escape.
Was the military afraid to take casualties, and that's why we decided to use warlords as our surrogates, our Hessians, if you will, to do the dirty work for us?
I don't think so.
Not Hessians, that's not the right word, because they had the motive, too, to fight this war. But were we wrong not to let American soldiers with the best know-how do this job?
I would have followed up much sooner with Americans once we had Mazar-e-Sharif to put American presence in there on the ground to take the initiative away from the Al-Qaeda. We didn't do that. We're now doing it with American troops, but I think Al-Qaeda is not an enemy that stands and fights like we knew in Europe, or what would have been the Soviets. They have melted away, and it's the leadership. This is a different type of war.
But
we have to
couldn't
understand
anybody have predicted that? Anybody would know that they were going to hide and run. Why wouldn't they? They're a worldwide organization. Why wouldn't they run?
Well, let me be very clear. They didn't run at Tora Bora. They didn't run at Operation Anaconda. They stood and fought,
Right.
And fought extremely well. The first time we did this in Tora Bora, it was, as I understand it, primarily we did it with Afghan troops. That didn't work out too well. They then tested us again.
Did we leave the back door open?
I think the back door to Pakistan was open. We didn't follow it up enough. That you learn. And I hope we don't make the same mistake again.
Bill Arkin, your review of what the general said.
Well, the back door, Chris, is behind us. It's New York and the New York skyline. I think you can't assess where we are a year after September 11th by also understanding what the Bush administration is trying to do. I know we focus on the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, but, you know, I think their primary interest over the past year has been stopping another terrorist attack in the United States. And it's politically dishonest not to say that they've been successful there. They have. But yet, on the other hand, Vice President Cheney and Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld state very clearly that they have absolutely no confidence that there is not going to be another terrorist attack in the United States. So on the one hand, we're stuck a year later saying to ourselves, you know, they've been very successful in stopping a terrorist attack over the past year, and yet they don't know whether there's going to be one tomorrow.
But hasn't the pattern of Al-Qaeda, I just want to stick with Al-Qaeda because those are the people responsible for what happened here September 11th last year. Their pattern has been 93, go after the World Trade Center, blow it, hurt it, but not blow it up. Then go back and hit the call. Hit our embassies in East Africa. Big operations, one meant to top the one before it. How do you know there has been the big effort in the last year to get us? And how do we not know it's coming a year from now or 2 years from now?
There has not been a major terrorist incident, period, worldwide directed against Western interests in the last year, Chris. That's the reality, like it or not.
Is that the pattern of attack?
Well, the question we have to ask ourselves is, are we prepared for a world of permanent war?
Right.
Because that's where we are. I don't have confidence in the American intelligence intelligence community. I'm not sure that we sought the right strategy in Afghanistan in terms of letting al-Qaeda leadership get away. But yet at the same time, you have to credit these guys and say that what they have achieved is that there has not been a major terrorist attack in the United States in the past year.
I want to ask you fellows, both of you, General and Bill, whether we're distracting from the war against terrorism by going to Iraq, or that is, in fact, engaging the terrorists. Here's Vice President Dick Cheney on the possible connection between Iraq and al-Qaeda.
I'm not here today to make a specific allegation that Iraq was somehow responsible for 9/11. I can't say that. There has been reporting that suggests that there have been a number of contacts over the years. We've seen in connection with the hijackers, of course, Mohammed Atta, who was the lead hijacker, did apparently travel to Prague on a number of occasions. And on at least one occasion, we have reporting that places him in Prague with a senior Iraqi intelligence official a few months before the attack on the World Trade Center.
Or right here with the World Trade Center, what was left of it. In fact, nothing's left of it behind us here on the island of Manhattan. We're over in New Jersey, in Jersey City. But there it is, the amazing view of the skyline of New York, absent, of course, the World Trade Center towers. General Jallin, big question. Is Iraq something separate? Is this really an attempt to get rid of a country we don't like and we're afraid of because it has weapons of mass destruction and are building more? Or is this part of the war on terrorism? Are these two separate ambitions here?
I see Iraq and Afghanistan, and indeed what's happening in the Middle East, all linked. I think the strategy has to include all three. You have a different challenge in Saddam Hussein because he has used weapons of mass destruction in the past. And so it's different than what you're finding with al-Qaeda, which runs cells around the world. But they are
asking a bottom line question. People don't want this to happen again.
Right.
Okay, bottom line, if we go and lose 10,000 guys going into Iraq, kill 200,000 Iraqis, will that in any way reduce the threat of terrorism from al-Qaeda in this country afterwards? In any way reduce it?
I think it may. But I'm telling you that we do have troops now in the Philippines. We do have troops in Yemen. We are going worldwide.
Dealing with Iraq and taking down that government and replacing it with somebody friendly to us, will that in any way reduce the threat of terrorism to cities like New York?
Well, the answer, I guess, is yes, Chris. But the reality is that the contortions that the vice president goes through to justify an attack on Iraq is kind of fake. Because this administration, including Vice President Cheney and Deputy Secretary of Defense Wolfowitz, wanted to go after Iraq before September 11th, and now they're trying to put it into
Do you think the fog of war is coming from the West Wing? Anyway, up next, more with General Jallin, more with Bill Arkin on the consequences if we do attack Iraq. And later, 1 year after September 11th, where's Osama bin Laden? Howard Fineman's coming here, Frank Letzer coming here with the latest news in the poll numbers on how the president's doing and whether the people want to attack Iraq. You're watching Hardball.
Hardball is brought to you by Morgan Stanley.
They have been my clients for 12 years. It was their dream to retire here, to the place where this couple first met, married, and always planned to return. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention, and it became my own, because that was the dream of my client. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley. One client at a time.
I told you this thing was awesome. The world's first 60-inch plasma HD TV from Zenith. An epic experience just 4 inches deep. From the high-definition authority, Zenith.
The fishermen at San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf. Hi, fishermen. Okay, now we have two tunas here. One's from the can. One's from Starkist in the Flavor Fresh pouch. As a fresh expert, which looks better to you?
I can tell you.
Oh.
That looks fresher.
Oh, it's very good tuna. That's on his fresh caught. The Starkist tuna in the Flavor Fresh pouch, yeah, it's much better.
Now there's Starkist new lunch to go. Enjoy the Flavor Fresh pouch anywhere with crackers, mayo, and relish.
Your home loan is approved.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No, really, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me thank you. No, I insist. Thank you.
Countrywide Home Loans would like to thank all our customers who inspire us to do our best.
Countrywide was recently ranked #1 in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power & Associates. Countrywide. Easy. Really.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
No, you're welcome.
The city of New York in the United States of America is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists.
I think that people are still reeling from it and will be for a very long time. I mean, I don't think that I'll ever be able to put my mind around what happened on September 11th.
America will soldier on. We will have a normal life, and we will not allow them to beat us.
Most people don't understand just how big my dad's heart really is. I laugh sometimes because when you get to know him, you realize what a great guy. For me, he's been a real strength and a real light in my life. And now he's taking time to run for the state senate. From what I can see, the legislature needs more people who have his kind of business experience to help create jobs and make better decisions. I'll miss him when he gets elected, but he's worth sharing. My name is Jenny Tiernan. My dad's name is Bob Tiernan.
Now this guy. Oh, it's in my face. Shouting at me. Just pushes me. But I love him. He's my coach. My coach.
Be a coach. Be a fan. Special Olympics.
There this guy.
We're back with General George Jones and with Bill Arkin. I guess the big question, General, and you've got to give us the answer. The verdict is going to come in right now on you. What's this war with Iraq going to look like if we have it? It looks like the president's determined to go there, and Cheney is too.
Well, first of all, we have much better posture in the region than we did in 1990. We have bases in the region. We have ships offshore.
We've got Kuwait. We've got land up in the Turkish area, the Kurdish area of Iraq itself.
Right.
We can put in big armies in there, right?
We
need a big army.
Well, I think there's going to be some options there. There's some talk about doing with air and SOF again, special operating forces. But I think you need to be able to have option B, C, D, and E, which includes ground forces, if need be. And they need to be ready to go. And I think the posturing you see in the region now is when and if there is a political decision, the military can act and act quite quickly. Making that political decision is going to be the key, with our allies, hopefully, and I hope with the United Nations.
There was talk a few months ago that this was all a head fake, that we weren't really going to go. We were just trying to intimidate Saddam into doing what we wanted to do. Based upon what you hear, the buzz you hear, it's no longer a head fake, right?
I think it's not a question of if, but when.
When? And you think as early as?
I'd rather not get into that. I think there's going to be a lot more consultation right now.
Well, the buzz at NBC is January. What's your buzz? You can't tell me. Is that too early?
I'm not going to get into that. But look, the key here is clarity. What do you want the force to do? And I would hope our military leaders are asking those pointed questions.
What are the countries we need to have as allies for basic purposes? Kuwait?
Kuwait.
We need
right?
Kuwait.
I think
Do we need Turkey?
Turkey is, I think, important for many reasons, yes.
Anybody else? Can we go with just those two?
Can
we go without the Saudis and that big air base?
I think the Saudis are also very important, and we need to have the support of those nations in the region for access to ports, access to airfields, and we need their support. So
Well,
I
does
think
that mean we shouldn't go if we don't get the Saudis behind us or the Egyptians behind us?
I would say no. If we have to, what the president calls preemption, and by the way, it's the president that's going to make the decision, not any of his secretaries, not the vice president.
You don't think Cheney makes these decisions?
It's going to be the president. He said he hasn't made a decision yet. But I think when it does happen, the more allies and the more support we have, we could always preempt, but I think it's very important.
Bottom line, do you think it has anything to do with what happened behind us last year on September 11th? Do you think this attack on Iraq has anything to do with what happened here a year ago, or it's just on the agenda of this administration ideologically to go take down Saddam Hussein?
I think it's always been on the agenda. I think it's not directly related to what we see.
Do you believe it's directly related to what happened here?
In one sense, Chris, when you say what could they do that's worse than this, I think that what the administration thinks is weapons of mass destruction. That is the basis of the president's speech in January, in which he identified the axis of evil.
Why do you call them they? What connection is there between Iraq and what happened here last year?
What nation in the world, what terrorist group in the world can do something worse than the World Trade Center and the Pentagon? And this administration believes, and they still haven't proved it, that what is worse than what happened here is weapons of mass destruction. Then, in that regard, Iraq to them represents the greatest threat to the United States. It's simple. But making the connection between the world, I don't think so, because I'll tell you this. I think that to go to war in Iraq, I don't really care about the Saudis. I care about the American people.
Right.
The American people have not been adequately briefed and adequately convinced that this is what the United States needs to do.
The biggest weapon of mass destruction is the hatred of those people for our policies in their part of the world. Anyway, up next, predictions from General Jowin and Bill Arkin about where the war on terror is headed 1 year from now. And later, Simon Reeve and Joseph Bodansky are here with the latest intelligence reports on Osama bin Laden, alive or dead, plus former President George Bush Sr. on the war against al-Qaeda. You watched it. Hardball.
Why are RE/MAX agents so successful at helping you buy or sell a home? They're born with it.
Identified tutor. Correct.
She'll make a splendid agent.
RE/MAX.
We are back, man. That was possibly the finest rock and roll show I have ever seen. I Smell World Tour!
Wow. You mean the whole world?
Yeah. You're not Gene. You're not Paul. You guys aren't Kiss?
No, but we did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Sterling, you remember that thing we were talking about yesterday?
What thing were we talking about?
You know, if you were still playing Brian Urlacher.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of small and kind of slow.
Exactly. What was that you were talking about?
Well, I'd say I'd either run by him or run over him.
What's your name again?
It's my name, Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp, that's what I thought.
Hey, wait a second. Hey, wait, you can't use... That was a figure of speech. Wait up, man. Show me some love.
Sunday NFL Countdown, 11 a.m. on ESPN.
It has a sleek all-in-one design like the Apple iMac computer, only it's faster, has more storage capacity, and can run thousands more software programs. Presenting the remarkable new Gateway Profile 4. Oh, and by the way, did we mention the Gateway Profile costs less than the iMac?
How long does she have to wait for relief when she's miserable with a cold? As fast as you can open the Vapor Rub, she can begin to feel like she's breathing again. No pill or syrup can give her that. Vapor Rub, the quick Vicks.
For the third year in a row, IntelliChoice has ranked Honda as having the best certified used car program, proving again and again and again that it may be used, but it's still a Honda.
For a limited time, get special APR financing as low as 5.9% for up to 60 months on all Honda certified used cars.
It's another business day, filled with meetings and memos and migraines. But amidst this tornado of stress, there is an island of calm called Pip Printing. You can relax and rely on Pip Printing to handle important jobs like brochures, presentations, newsletters, and manuals with the quality and speed of digital technology to meet your deadlines with work that'll make you proud. Pip Printing will help you keep pace. Call 1-800-223-7477 or find us at pip.com.
Dirty dishes aren't hard to find. They're just sometimes hard to fit in your dishwasher.
Touch of parsley, check on the boiling water.
Introducing the Maytag Jet Clean 2, the first dishwasher with a revolutionary third rack and an extra wash arm. So even those hard-to-fit dishes get clean.
Dishes again? You should get out more.
The Jet Clean 2, another dependable idea only from Maytag.
Tomorrow at 10, live from New York City. 1 year later, survivors share their 9/11 stories. Ashley Banfield, Across America. Tomorrow at 10, only on MSNBC.
I'm here across from the World Trade Centers, where the spot where the World Trade Centers were. General Jowin, former Supreme Commander of NATO, and Bill Arkin are joining me. I'm going to ask them both the same question in order. General, first, a year ago we had the hell that hit New York and in Washington. What's next year going to look like at home and abroad in terms of this war on terrorism?
First of all, I hope we don't take our eye off of the Al-Qaeda a year from now. I think it's very important we focus. This is a long-term challenge that we're going to face. They're not going to go away. It's a different threat than we've faced in the past. we cannot take our eye off them, and that includes even if we go into Iraq.
You think that's a distraction?
I think that there may be some linkage, but it can be a distraction if we don't concentrate on these small cells that are all around the world, and that can do us harm.
Next September 11th.
We're not going to be here, Chris. There will be celebrations and memorials on the part of the families and those who lost something in the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. But the reality is, Chris, a year from now, we're going to be reporting on the ongoing war in Iraq.
And will that war be a success at that point or a failure? Will we be bogged down like we were in Mogadishu, like we were in Saigon?
Look, when we go to war, it's a failure. That's number one. So a year from now, whatever the war looks like, the fact that we have to resort to the use of force is a failure. It's unfinished business from 1991. It has nothing to do with September 11th.
Is going to Baghdad a battle, or is it part of a larger war with the East?
You know, I think that the Bush administration believes that the only thing that makes Iraq justifiable is that it represents sort of in a symbolic way weapons of mass destruction.
Thank you very much, General George Tarrant. Thank you very much, Bill Arkin. Back with more Hardball. We're going to be talking about Osama bin Laden coming back on Hardball.
You're watching America's News Channel, MSNBC.
You're finished already. I'll just take a copy up to the boss on 12.
Oh, how helpful, John. I think it's time to use our imagistics.
Oh, I'll just scan it and email it ahead of him.
Hey, the boss is in a meeting down at 5. I can print it there.
Imagistics, you're making it too easy.
For over 25 years, corporate America has relied on us, Imagistics, providing dependable office document equipment and unparalleled service.
Nice report. Already read it.
I've always had the will to win. It's what drives me to do more. And when it comes to your health, you can do more. A medicine called Altace can help. I take it for high blood pressure, but it may also help you in a different, important way. If you're 55 or older and have had a heart attack or stroke or have diabetes, plus another risk factor, you can do more.
When added to existing medications, Altace was clinically proven to further reduce the risk of stroke, heart attack, and cardiovascular death. Prescription Altace is not for everyone. Altace may cause swelling of the mouth, tongue, or throat, which could cause extremely serious risk and requires immediate medical care. Common side effects include persistent dry cough, dizziness, and lightheadedness due to low blood pressure. Do not take Altace during pregnancy, as death or injury to your unborn child may result, or if you've experienced serious side effects related to previous ACE inhibitors.
You can do more. Go ahead. Ask your doctor about Altace.
Showdown for the best clean in town. This ordinary brush versus Crest Spin Brush with replaceable spinning head and stationary bristles. Who wins? Crest Spin Brush. And that's guaranteed, ma'am. It's a better spin on clean.
Visit Weston.com, member of Starwood Preferred Guest.
When you watch MSNBC on September 11th, we'll let you experience the day without too much of, well, us. MSNBC's team of journalists will bring you the events from Pennsylvania and the Pentagon and Ground Zero in Manhattan with only limited interruption and not so much talk through the day. On Wednesday evening, we'll help put the year in perspective. You should be able to pay tribute to our heroes and celebrate the spirit of America in your own way. And we'll be right here to help you do that. Thanks.
Is your child protected for the future? For years, Gerber has been telling you about the Grow Up Plan. It's a $5,000 cash value life insurance policy that costs less than $1 per week. At age 21, the protection doubles to $10,000 with no increase in premiums. Call now for your free information package. The Gerber Life Grow Up Plan, a solid investment in your child's future. Call now.
Call this toll-free number for free information about Gerber's Grow Up Plan. Call now.
America is shaping up with Fitness Made Simple's best-selling workout and nutrition videos, hosted by fitness celebrity John Bastow.
These videos don't offer starvation diets, miracle pills, or magical fat loss belts. Those things never work for me or anyone else I know. What does work are the muscle-building workouts and fat-burning nutrition plans shown on these tapes.
Order on National Shape Up Special today and get the original Fitness Made Simple workout and nutrition video plus 6-pack abs. That's 2 videos for the price of 1. Call now.
Half hour on Hardball, the latest on the hunt for Al-Qaeda. How far do we have to go? Plus, Newsweek's Howard Feynman and pollster Frank Luntz on the latest poll numbers on President Bush and prospects for war with Iraq. But first, it's time for the latest news.
I'm Judy. Here's what's happening right now. The White House tonight taking all precautions leading up to the 9/11 anniversary. Sources tell MSNBC Vice President Dick Cheney now in an undisclosed location. He's expected to be there for the next few days. Now, if he does make any unscheduled appearances, it will not be with the president. The Transportation Department announcing tonight some airports are not going to make the December 31st deadline for screening all bags for explosives. And it says Congress is partly to blame for cutting back on its aviation security budget request. 1 year after 9/11, a staggering number of New York rescue workers still sick from fumes and stress. A government study says 363 firefighters and medical personnel on leave or light duty assignments because of respiratory problems. Another 213 workers on leave due to stress-related problems. We'll have another live update at the top of the hour. Stay tuned now for more Hardball.
In the 12 months following the attacks of September 11th, the United States has toppled the Taliban and forced Al-Qaeda's leadership into hiding. But two major targets remain at large: Taliban leader Mullah Muhammad Omar and Osama bin Laden himself. Here's what the vice president had to say about bin Laden and Al-Qaeda on Meet the Press yesterday.
We've uncovered cells in the UK and Germany and Spain and Italy, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, the United States. And given that, even if sort of you decapitated the organization, let's assume he is dead, the fact of the matter is we're still vulnerable to attack. Whether he's dead or alive, we're going to be engaged in this struggle for a good long period of time to come. And it would be a mistake for us to assume that capturing bin Laden or not capturing bin Laden automatically sort of wraps up the war on terror. It won't.
According to a new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, 84% of Americans say they believe the terrorists who hit us on September 11th of last year have their next attack already planned or in the works. Simon Reeve is an Al-Qaeda expert and the author of The New Jackals. Joseph Bodansky is the author of Bin Laden, the man who declared war on America. And Taliban expert Michael Griffin wrote Reaping the Whirlwind. Let's go to Joseph Bodansky. Joseph, who was Mohammed Atta, the man who led this attack September 11th, taking orders from? Who was his top guy?
The chain of command was bin Laden, but he was notified, now we know, only on September 6th that the operation was a go. Khaled Sheikh Mohammed and Ramzi bin al-Subh were the two individuals that, at least in the interview with Al Jazeera, claimed to have been the two senior operators supervising the operation.
But apart from the bragging rights, Joseph, do we know who was giving the orders in September? We don't really know, do we?
No, because there have been a lot of reconnaissance that was done. There was a lot of supervision inside the United States. Yeah. A lot of calculations done, a lot of supervisory through the internet and other stuff. That none of that has been done by Al-Qaeda. We don't really know who organized, who supervised, and who provided all of the expert services that made the operational possible. Probably Khaled Sheikh Mohammed and Ramzi bin al-Subh were in charge of the actual would-be martyrs, but very little beyond that.
Simon Reeves, do you have any clear-cut notion of the chain of command that led to the horror behind me a year ago? Who was giving the orders to Mohammed Atta, the Saudi Arabian people that were on those planes, the Egyptian people on those planes? Who was the boss behind it all? And how did that connect to bin Laden?
Well, I think bin Laden has to take the overall responsibility. I think he's likely to have issued commands and given instructions, but certainly he passes it down to his lieutenants, the two gentlemen who Yosef already named, and they issue instructions to the guys who are running the actual operation, who in this case was Mohammed Atta.
Do you have a clear sense in your head, Mike, Simon, that bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, called the shots on this operation, came up with it, and made it happen? And that he operated through a chain of command through Mohammed Atta and got those people all to commit suicide, those 19 men? Do you have a clear notion of the chain of command?
Yes, I have a clear notion that Osama bin Laden was ultimately responsible for it, but having said that, Al-Qaeda is not an organization which has a rigid command structure. It's a fluid organization, and I think individuals who come up with some ingenious plan are allowed to work on their own initiative. But ultimately, Osama bin Laden was responsible.
Let me ask Michael Griffin the same question. Everybody, both Yosef and Simon are saying that Osama bin Laden was ultimately responsible. He is claiming, in fact, that responsibility. And all the tapes we've seen, whether he's alive or dead, he certainly claimed it after September 11th. Do you have a clear idea in your mind as to the chain of command that led to the horror last year?
Well, it seems to me that the chain of command emanates more closely from Malaysia and Southeast Asia, with people like Tawfiq al-Attash and the man named Khalid. They seem to be the people most closely connected to the two cells, Mohammed Atta's cell and the one operating out of San Diego, Al-Hamdi, I think. From there into Afghanistan is much harder to say for certain. Certainly people like Abu Zubaydah were involved, the man who was picked up in March in Pakistan and is now helping U.S. intelligence. But again, there doesn't seem to be a very straight definition of job descriptions between all of these people.
Let me ask you all, let me start with Yosef again on the question of motive. What was the motive of Mohammed Atta and the Egyptians and the Saudi Arabians who actually committed suicide as they killed our people, our 3,000 people on September 11th? What was their personal motives for doing the horror we saw behind us here?
First of all, bin Laden never acknowledged responsibility. He praised the operation, and I don't think that he said go. He said that such an operation served the spirit of Islam or whatever goal, but he did not say you go and do that kind of an operation. That was done from Ayman al-Zawahiri downwards. Now, their objective was to save Islam, because going back to bin Laden's thesis, America and the Third World War in early '99, which is that only the instigation, the provoking of a war between Islamdom and the West will...
Why? Why were Egyptians and Saudi Arabian young people determined to commit suicide to kill our people? Why? What was motivating them? Was it nationalism? Was it anger against the United States for owning their country?
No, it's the future of Islam. Islam is a way of life, is a civilization they believe is under the threat of modernity, of globalization, of the electronic media, and only a war between the West and Islam will save Islam. And they were willing to sacrifice their lives in order to provoke
Simon and Mike, I want you both to weigh on this. The motive that pushed Mohammed Atta to bring those airplanes into the World Trade Centers behind us, Simon, do you believe it was just simply religion, or was it anger against U.S. policy towards Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Israel, I guess?
Of course it is. It's all these reasons. It's American support for Israel primarily, but there's a whole host of reasons. And then there's just plain old-fashioned hatred. They dislike Americans. They dislike what America stands for. They don't like the fact that American forces are in the Arabian Peninsula, propping up the Saudi regime.
Well, are those motives alive today? Are those motives alive today, a year after? In other words, is Al-Qaeda as motivated as it was a year ago right now?
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that, Michael?
What's very worrying.
I would say it was even more motivated now than it was before, because a year ago, September the 11th, gave a really strong indication of how successful suicide pilots in this case can be. And
Yosef,
really
do you agree that Al-Qaeda,
the people that hit
weak? Yosef, the people who hit us a year ago, do you think they're more motivated to hit us again now?
I think just the recruitment that bin Laden and company had in Western Europe, and to a lesser extent in the United States, among fully westernized individuals, second and third generation migrants, is indicative of the extent of the popularity of the cause and the willingness of the community to mobilize to fight the United States.
Okay, all three agree that they're more motivated than they were a year ago. You start, Yosef Bodansky. Are they as capable in terms of money, finances, and material and information to do what they did a year ago?
In the West are far more capable because of that massive recruitment of volunteering of people who are completely westernized, that isn't living in the West. All of them have been born here and in the West, and they're capable of fighting.
Simon, are they as capable or more capable than they were a year ago to hurt us?
I think they're less capable but more confident, and I think that makes the people who are left even more dangerous.
Michael?
I would go with that. There's less money around, there's less funding for them. They're much more restricted in Western Europe and the United States, and therefore they're more likely to attack U.S. lives and U.S. property outside of the United States.
So you both are suggesting a smaller operation next time, a more desperate operation, not the big effort that was launched against us September 11th last year. Michael first.
I would say so. Smaller, more nimble, more maneuverable, and not with such a global spread of communications involved, because they're very badly penetrated at certain areas.
Simon, do you agree with that? It's more and more desperate operation?
Yes, I do, and I think the worrying thing is that they're just going to keep on trying until they get it right. That our intelligence services will get some of their attacks, they'll be able to prevent them, but they won't be able to prevent all of them.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Simon Reeve, Joseph Podansky, and Michael Griffin. Up next, Newsweek's Howard Feynman and pollster Frank Luntz on the latest approval ratings for President Bush, which are still high, plus the president's father and his thoughts on the September 11th attacks and the blame game that followed.
You cannot predict accurately the intentions of evil people.
Another business day, filled with meetings and memos and migraines. But amidst this tornado of stress, there is an island of calm called Pip Printing. You can relax and rely on Pip Printing to handle important jobs like brochures, presentations, newsletters, and manuals with the quality and speed of digital technology to meet your deadlines with work that'll make you proud. Pip Printing will help you keep pace. Does your business need printed sales and marketing materials? Visit pip.com.
It's time to redo the kitchen.
Let's get that home equity loan.
It's the Hendersons.
Get him a great deal.
Patrick Bank's on the job. So's Ferguson Bank.
We need a lower rate.
Want banks to compete over you? Come to LendingTree.com. Fill out one form and get up to 4 offers within hours. When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com.
Coughing up cards. Easy. Magic wands. No brainer. Furry woodland creature. You want to know what's really magic? That's when Singular takes my unused minutes and makes them reappear the very next month. Oh, now you're impressed. Rollover, only from Singular.
Hello, Imagistics. Our copy machine isn't working.
What's going on?
Imagistics service call.
Machine's down.
Imagistics down? That's unlikely.
I know.
For over 25 years, corporate America has called on us, Imagistics, providing dependable office document equipment and unparalleled service.
It's surprising how much you miss from 35,000 feet, especially this time of year. Can you hear the leaves of gold crunch beneath your feet? Feel the warmth of family, or show your old hometown to someone who's never seen it before. Get yourself down to ground level. That's where the memories live. There are over 4 million miles of roads in Alamo country, and with values like this, they're easy to explore. Alamo, the official rental car of the American vacation.
There's another kind of bounty. Bounty double quilted.
It does jobs I never thought a paper towel could do. The quicker picker-upper is double quilted.
Each sheet is quilted once, then quilted again, making it the strongest 2-ply paper towel.
It even works underwater.
And there are twice as many sheets on a roll. More sheets that can do more jobs than you ever thought possible. Quilted, quicker picker-upper. Bounty double quilted.
Your generous support has made it possible for United Way to help build strong communities across America. Thank you. Now more than ever, it is crucial that we maintain the strength and vitality of our neighborhoods, towns, and cities. United Way is active in local communities 365 days a year, making a measurable difference in the lives of Americans. Strong communities mean a stronger America. Please continue to support your local United Way.
Next, live from the Pentagon, survivors reveal what it's like working here after 9/11. Ashley Banfield on location across America. Next, only on MSNBC.
Well, the Hudson River is right behind me, and beyond that, the site of the former World Trade Center. We're talking about the first-year anniversary, probably a bad word for it. Let's call it the marking of the memory of the horror. We're welcoming right now Howard Fineman and pollster Frank Luntz are here to talk about what's happening with public opinion in this country a year after the horror. According to the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll just released, 64% of Americans approve of the job President Bush is doing. That's down slightly. I would say it's holding even. Howard, is this president still popular?
The short answer is yes, Chris. I think the country is in an uncertain mood. I've been traveling around a lot, and people sort of are waiting for the next big event or piece of bad news to come along. The right direction, wrong track numbers have turned negative. But Bush himself hasn't lost the bond that he forged with the American people a year ago. And he's going to have a chance this week, both in the speeches on Wednesday and the United Nations speech on Thursday, to sort of get on an emotional high with the American people again.
Is it your expectation as a watcher of these events in our history, especially this most recent one, that the president will be much higher in the polls come next weekend because of what he says to the country on Wednesday night and to the United Nations on Thursday?
I don't think it can be anything but that, Chris. How long it will last is another question. But sure, he's going back to where he ended up performing the best after an uncertain start, as a rallier of the country, as a strong figure and commander-in-chief role, and he's going to be doing that this week, so he's going to be playing to his strengths politically this week, but that won't cover up the fact that the country is in a very uncertain mood. It's beyond the numbers. It's just a kind of wariness out there in the country.
Is the president and the vice president especially using this opportunity of marking this horror of a year ago to what happened in New York right behind me as a way of selling their Iraq policy? In other words, are they going to, I don't want to use the word negatively, but are they exploiting this moment of national sentiment to beat the war drums for Iraq?
No question about it. And I think they made it clear in defending their inaction over the summer. Andy Card said we don't introduce a new line until the fall.
Right.
They were definitely, this has been scheduled. This debate has been scheduled in the minds of the Bush White House to take place in and around September 11th, in part because they know they have to give a progress report on the war, Chris.
Right.
We didn't find Osama. We don't know whether he's alive or dead. When the American people say, what are you doing for us lately in terms of security, you can't say much about the Homeland Security Department because it doesn't exist. You can't say much about airline safety because that's problematic. You can say we're taking the next step in the war.
You know, we just saw that picture again of the so-called cabinet of Saddam Hussein. I think those guys wearing their berets are no more members of his cabinet. They're a bunch of dunces than Curtis Sliwa is. Anyway, according to the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, here's a question for Frank Luntz. 6 in 10 Americans favor using military force to remove Saddam Hussein. But when asked what would happen, where do they stand if it would take 200,000 troops and the number drops down to 49? Maybe that's just a wake-up call to what it's going to take to win. Well, how do you read those numbers, Frank? Lower support for a war if it's a bigger war.
Well, it's not just that it's a bigger war, it's that Americans are involved in that war. It's an easier war to wage when you're just bombing. It's more difficult when actual troops are involved. Look, Americans have always been uncomfortable about shedding lives. And for Americans, lives, human beings are precious and they're special. And we don't want them to be used in war unless we can absolutely, if there's any other way outside that. I will tell you that after the 11th and after the 12th, you're going to see those numbers go up about 10 percentage points each.
Let's talk about the relative evil of a couple of people we're quite familiar with. One is Osama bin Laden, the head of al-Qaeda, who's living or dead, we don't know. According to the NBC poll, more than 3/4 of the Americans say Saddam Hussein is, quote, a serious threat to this country. And 4 in 10 say between Osama bin Laden and Hussein, the biggest threat is Hussein. Is that because of the war drums, Frank, that the president and the vice president and Rumsfeld have been beating, that the people now see not the man who's responsible for what happened here last year in New York, but Saddam is our biggest threat?
Well, it also has to do with history. I mean, Saddam Hussein's been around for us for over 20 years, and we went to war with him 10 years ago now, or 11 years ago.
Well, is he an all-purpose bad guy? Blame him for everything?
It's more than that. There's nothing that scares Americans. Howard's right about this just general unease that Americans feel, and it works its way through politics, it's working its way through the economy. But with Saddam Hussein, there's a fear of chemical weapons, of biological weapons. We don't exactly know what that means, but it frightens us because we know that it causes a lot of damage. We don't know how to see it. We don't know how to feel it, but we're afraid that at some point it just may come to our shores.
Howard, are you surprised that the American people are more angry or more concerned about the threat of Saddam Hussein than they are of the guy responsible for the World Trade Center horror?
Well, they know more about Saddam, as Frank was saying, because of the history and because he fits into a neater category of a traditional kind of enemy. He's the head of a state, he's a dictator, he invaded another country. He violated the rules of international law and diplomacy as we have understood them. Osama is such a radical departure, it's such a whole new world thing, that I think the American people have had trouble figuring out exactly what type of evil he represents, whereas Saddam is more familiar. And also, I think that number of 77% saying they think he's a serious threat is an important one and probably gives a lot of a good cheer over at the White House, where they've been beaten up around here inside the Beltway, everybody making fun of whether there was a threat or not. At least for now, they're going to be preaching to Bush is going to be preaching to the choir on Wednesday and Thursday.
So the president's PR campaign to convince the American people to be angry at Saddam Hussein on this first anniversary has been successful, Frank.
Yeah, it's been successful here, but it has not been successful in Europe.
Right.
I came back, I was doing research in London only a few days ago, and I was amazed at how the British just don't, not only do they not agree that...
Thank you, Frank. Hang on there, Howard. We're right back to talk about whether people think getting Saddam will remove the threat of terrorism. Surprising numbers coming back. You're watching Hardball.
This place for that kind of money? Not what you need to hear. Then stay here at Super 8. Clean, comfortable rooms because we inspect them more than any major economy chain. Clean, friendly Super 8. All the room you want.
In an environment where the only constant is change, your business has to continually reinvent itself. Wouldn't it be nice if your infrastructure could do the same? It can, with Proliant server technologies from HP, powered by Intel Xeon processors. Reliable, scalable, manageable, and built on industry standards. So your infrastructure can adapt to change just as quickly as you do.
This place for that kind of money? Not what you need to hear. Then stay here at Super 8. Clean, comfortable rooms because we inspect them more than any major economy chain. Clean, friendly Super 8. All the room you want.
MSNBC is breaking news 24/7. Next, live from the Pentagon, survivors reveal what it's like working here after 9/11. Ashley Banfield on location across America. Next, only on MSNBC.
What does it mean to be fiercely independent?
I think what makes us unique is we're willing to explore new ground.
Having the courage to follow the story.
I don't rely on scripted material. It's happening. I'm there.
Voicing your opinions.
I have an opinion about a lot of things, and it's nice to be at a place where you don't have to throw a blanket over.
Getting to the truth.
Just tell the people what happened. Better yet, it's television. Show them.
Demanding accountability.
When somebody comes on the show and tries to give me their TV commercial, they're not going to get away with it. I'm going to try to make that person answer some tough questions.
America's news channel, MSNBC. We don't have an agenda, and we don't take orders from anyone. That's what it means to be fiercely independent.
On the overnight satellite picture, clear skies in the west, clear skies for the northeast as well. The clouds across the plains going to bring some strong thunderstorms as we go through the overnight. As we take a look at that Tuesday AccuWeather forecast, it'll be a dry day for Atlanta, plenty of sunshine, no travel troubles in Baltimore. It is going to be a hot day with plenty of sunshine. Los Angeles will see lots of sunshine with another warm afternoon, and a dry day for Portland, plenty of sunshine, highs into the 80s, a very nice day in Seattle.
I wish I knew the name of the person who had the idea for this new magazine. It's called Lucky, the magazine about, guess what? Shopping. I want to hug this person and thank her or him for making the most helpful, useful magazine anyone who shops could ever have. Lucky shops the designer showrooms, shops the fashion shows, shops the stores. They pick out only the great stuff, only the best looks, the best trends, and best of all, they tell you where you can buy everything you see. The store name, its location, phone number, or web address is always right by the photo of everything they show. And since Lucky doesn't ever sell anything themselves, you get their honest picks. Then you pick just what you like and go get it. Subscribe now and get 12 issues, a year's worth for just $1 an issue. That's 66% off the newsstand price. And you'll get this cool Lucky tote bag absolutely free. So, call now for Lucky.
Call 1-800-320-9977.
We'll have the former president on in just half a minute, but I wanted to get the reaction to Howard and to Frank to this poll question. It said that, do you think removing Saddam Hussein from power would reduce the threat of terrorism? 47% of the American people said yes, but 39% said no. How do you read that, Frank? They don't see it as necessarily, clearly, a way to stop terrorism.
Because they see that terrorism is coming from a lot of places. We don't talk much about Saudi Arabia, but more and more Americans are realizing that Saudi Arabia, which is supposed to be one of our allies, that they're one of the greatest problems that we have with terrorism.
Howard, are you surprised that people don't see it as a slam dunk, getting rid of Saddam gets rid of terrorism, even though it's being sold that way by the administration?
I'm not surprised, because the administration hasn't really made the case. They've underscored the fact that Saddam is an evil dude and should go, but they haven't made that connection yet, and that's what Bush has to do beginning on Thursday at the UN.
Okay, let's go. Here this morning on the Today Show, gentlemen, NBC's Jamie Gangel sat down with former President George W. Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, and Barbara Bush, and she asked the former president whether he was surprised by the attacks of September 11th.
I was surprised at the magnitude of it and the coordination of it. I think a lot of people. But what I didn't like was the blame game that followed. The CIA should have known. The CIA should have predicted. The FBI failed us. I mean, I get so irritated by these Monday morning quarterbacks who come rushing in with what should have happened. You cannot predict accurately the intentions of evil people or good people. You can measure where the forces are, but it's impossible to always know in advance when something bad is going to happen.
Do you consider it an intelligence failure to some degree?
Well, I think you'd have to say, yeah, it'd have been nice to have him say, wait a minute, on September 11th, that all of a sudden there are going to be these planes, and abort it. But that's not the way the real world works. But if you want to call that a failure, yeah, it's a failure to predict, but it's not the failure of our intelligence internationally or nationally per se. It's not that the CIA is weak and no good. It's not that you need to reorganize it. It's not that you need to put it all under some other department. That's my view. These are good people.
You don't think that it's time for an overhaul in the intelligence community?
No, I have great confidence in the Director of Central Intelligence, and I was very pleased that President Bush kept him on, and I'm very pleased that he is serving with such distinction. And is he going to find ways to improve things? Sure. Will Mueller do the same thing at the FBI? Yes. But what I object to, Jamie, is painting with such a broad brush you destroy morale. And you say to good people who are serving for the right reason, duty, honor, country, and you tell them by these attacks that they're not worth a damn.
We have not found Osama bin Laden. How important do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know whether he's alive.
And you don't care?
Well, I care, only that he's kind of a symbol of all the evil. But I think we're getting on with the war against Al-Qaeda. Shadowy, it's difficult. All these different countries involved, just a different kind of war than I had to fight over or preside.
I think the former president was dodging that bullet for his son there. He clearly from his body language, would like to have caught Osama bin Laden. Howard, you first. Do you think the politics are as the president sees them? Are the people understanding of the failure of our intelligence community? Are they angry?
I think people have questions, but it was interesting that this President Bush considered a thoroughgoing reorganization and consolidation of all the intelligence agencies, ended up not doing it, and you know, maybe his dad put in a word on that topic.
Howard, yeah, I mean, Frank, do you think reasonable people believe that we could have stopped what happened a year ago across the river, or reasonable people believe that things like that were just simply outside the box and nobody could have seen it coming?
Well, that's the whole key. Are they reasonable people or not? Look, Americans expect that their country, that their leaders, and that their government and the security services will keep them safe and keep them secure. They don't blame the government when the government failed, but they do expect the government not to make the same mistakes again. It's one thing to have one terrorist attack. They understand that. Even if there's another one, they understand that they cannot be completely safe and completely secure, particularly when people are willing to give up their lives. But if this thing were to happen again and again, that's when they would become righteously indignant.
I want to ask you, Howard, bottom line here, do you think that the former president's sense of serenity that we just saw there is sort of an ease about this situation is shared by the people?
By the American people, I'm not sure. But what I took from that interview is that the son in office now has a father who is always a cautious, prudent, and realistic man. One of the big questions now in the days and weeks ahead is whether that demeanor and that character is possessed by his son as well, because it's going to take prudence and patience.
Okay, thanks a lot, Howard Fineman.
Sure.
Thank you, Frank Luntz. Join us again tomorrow night here, looking across at New York, exclusively on America's news channel Hardball, as we examine whether America's intelligence agencies are able to prevent future terrorist attacks. That's the hot question. We have joining us the Homeland Security Director himself, Tom Ridge. I'll be interviewing him tomorrow night here on Hardball. Also, General Norman Schwarzkopf. I'll be talking to him. But right now, Ashley Banfield across America tonight, reporting from the Pentagon. Ashley.